Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. So today I am here to film a special video because honestly this past week it has not been the best time. I've been having a really hard week overall just because of life stuff, and life's been crazy, you know. I also just had finals, and so after everything that's happened, I just want to come and hang out with you guys. I know I haven't posted in like 2 weeks, and it's mostly because of finals and also because I've been trying to film a specific video and it's not working, and I've spent like 6 hours on it and it's just not working. So I figured today I'm just going to come and film this other video that I've been planning for a long time. I have been working on my finals for RISD. As you guys probably know, RISD finals ended May 22nd, which was literally the day of my birthday, and apparently I didn't get the memo. I was gonna run out of time to do finals, and I didn't realize that was gonna happen because that almost never happens to me. I always spend a lot of time on my finals, but I never run out of time. So this was crazy, and I don't know if it was partially because I was home and it was just really hard to do time management or like what it was, but I ended up pulling an all-nighter for this project. But I am extremely proud of this project, so I wanted to come and share it with you guys. And a lot of you on Instagram were already asking me where's the video, because you guys know that the video is gonna come. I'm here to deliver on that promise. So I wanted to come and explain my assignment that if you guys have been following me on my Instagram, then you would have probably already seen a lot of pictures and videos and documentation of the process on there. So if you want a little bit more, you should go follow my Instagram and look up there. But I'm also here to be giving you most of the details here, so there's a lot of high-res pictures up there, but not much explanation. This was for my concepts class, which is always one of my favorite classes to take, and I had the assignment of the 7 deadly sins. So basically the assignment was that we had to just take the 7 deadly sins and explain it or show it however we want to, and that was basically our entire project. So I decided, with my birthday coming up at the time, because the final was going to be due on the 21st and my birthday was on the 23rd of May, so I figured let's do the 7 deadly sins as little monsters, because that's already what I was going to do. I was going to characterize them, but let's have them at a birthday party. And I thought that would be super cute, so I was like, why not do that, honestly? That is how I created these little guys. So I want to go through and show you 6 of the 7 deadly sins. The last one I really hated, so I'm not gonna show it. If you know me in person, you've seen it, but if you don't, I'm sorry. I'm just not putting it out there because I hate the way it looks, and it really doesn't fit the rest of the crowd, so I feel like it's just stronger without it, even though I know that's technically 6 of the 7 deadly sins and it is a bit incomplete. I just really don't like it, so I don't want to show you guys. So let's start off with all of the 7 deadly sins that I did do. I technically did do all of them, but the ones I'm gonna show you. Let's start off slow. So the first one I want to show you guys is wrath. This is Wrath. He is a little monster guy who's spitting fire. Pretty self-explanatory. He's really angry. He has these really angry eyebrows. I'm going to talk a bit about how I made these, what I used, and how they ended up being what they're gonna be, with conceptualization, of course. So first thing I want to mention is that all of these ceramic looking guys are not actually ceramic. I know they're really shiny and cool, and a lot of people have mistaken them for ceramic, but they're actually polymer clay on the inside with acrylic paint and then resin. So that is the materials that I use. So please don't leave me any comments about materials. How I made this guy. So I was originally thinking of a little wrath guy. I knew I wanted to put fire in it, and I knew I wanted to give him 3 eyes, but other than that, I didn't know what I really wanted to do. So I kind of was inspired low-key by How to Train Your Dragons. I don't really remember how that movie goes, to be honest, but this is kind of what I remembered from Toothless, even though he has 2 teeth, and I don't even remember if Toothless has teeth. I guess he doesn't, because his name is Toothless. That's what I was kind of thinking about when I made him, so I kind of made this little weird dragon, not really, but kind of looking monster, and I wanted to give him 2 party hats just because I thought it'd be cute, and he has the most headspace out of all of them, so I figured if I'm going to give someone 2 party hats, it should be him. How I ended up making this was, I think this is one of the only ones that has no tinfoil in him, which is interesting because his mouth is so deep and hollow, it goes pretty far back there. I didn't have to use any tinfoil for the making of this little guy. So luckily that went pretty smoothly. It also took me a bit to get him to balance, but he does balance, obviously not in my hand because my hand's not a flat surface, but he does balance. They all balance, and that was something that was also really hard to work on during these sculptures. But I made the flame and I made him separate, and then when I painted them and put everything together, I put them together. And honestly, this wasn't too hard to make. His head is basically a simple pinch pot, and his body is just a little oblong shape with little legs coming out of it. So the hardest part was just getting him to balance, especially with this little flame. But I made all of their party hats separately, and I ended up painting them after. So you can see these tiny little details are all hand painted, and he does have a lot of little stars on him and on his flame, and they're all really shiny. So I really love how he turned out, and this was one of the ones that I did with a darker color palette, which I didn't think was gonna work for what I had planned, because I kind of wanted to do like a really rainbow, nice, happy color palette, and so I wasn't expecting this to actually turn out as well as it did, but I'm really happy with how it turned out. However, painting with black acrylic paint or really dark, this is actually like a really dark purple if you see it in person, was really difficult because of fingerprints and stuff. I forgot that that kind of shows up a lot more on dark acrylic paint as compared to lighter acrylic paint, so that was something I really had to watch out for. I had to wash my hands a lot. Like with everything else, I make things in parts and I glue them together once they're all done, and then I give them a final coat of resin. So this is how Wrath turned out, and he does balance. I love his little teeth. I think it gives him a lot of character, and I really love this fire part. Honestly, I surprised myself because I didn't think I could pull this off. It looked a lot different in the 2D drawing, so I didn't think this was gonna work out, but you know, it turned out pretty well. So this is Wrath. Moving on to the next one, I don't actually know if there's a specific order to the 7 deadly sins, but I'm just gonna go in a random order. This one is Greed, and he's light blue and has little stars coming out of him, and they're honestly kind of just things that I drew when I was drawing up the sketch for him, but I decided to keep him with the stars because I thought it was really cute. So this is what he looks like, and he does also balance. He's really hunched over, so it's really scary to balance him, but I'm really impressed with myself that I got it done. But the original idea for this was actually nothing like a gift box, but I decided as I was doing a birthday theme that why not have them all have rolls. So the Wrath one's roll was basically a lighter for the candles, and then this guy was a present box that someone gave him, and he was gonna hoard all the other presents and gems and things like that. If you guys can't tell, he's a present box. Wasn't originally supposed to be a present box, but ended up being one. He's based off of a Tiffany present box because he is Tiffany blue, obviously, and I kind of love Tiffany a little bit, so yeah. But here he is. He is very, very cute, and he has this bow in the back that I did not think I was going to be able to pull off and make, but I was really impressed that I was actually able to do that, so that was something really cool. And I also made all of these individual pieces inside his present box head, and I put them in there. And as you can see, there is a little lip for where the present box ends and the inside begins. But making this guy was definitely a lot more challenging because of his feet. I had to make sure that they were going to be standing flat, and so it was really hard to get him to balance with a pose like this. And I also had to make sure to keep these eye pins clean while painting him. But the process for him wasn't as hard as the other ones. Making his head was definitely a little bit of a challenge, just making it so smooth, but ended up getting it done. The process with him was that there is aluminum foil inside his head, so this isn't a whole entire block of clay, and there's a wire connecting his head to his body. I got a question someone asked about if I use armature, which I don't really do, but I do use wiring to kind of hold their pieces together. So there's wiring in his arms and in his legs, but I did not make a whole skeleton, if that makes sense. And so here he is. He's the definition of greed. He's pretty self-explanatory. He has these like money pieces all over him, and he has little confetti pieces because it's still a party theme, and he looks like a Tiffany box, but I'm not sure if that comes across very much, which is okay because I didn't want to make the direct connection. And then on his body there are also these ribbon pieces that are running around him, just because I thought it'd be a little bit more interesting to look at. So there he is. That's Greed. The next one I want to show you guys is Lust, which was really hard to conceptualize. Lust typically has a more sexual connotation to it, and I didn't really want to do it like that because it's a birthday party. As comfortable as I am about making art about sex, it didn't really seem like it fit with the birthday party theme, so I did my best to change it up a bit. And when I was looking it up, lust could just basically be a really strong desire for anything, so I made this guy lust over a donut. And this is pretty much, in terms of looks, he's very simple. He's one of the more simple ones that I made. This is his tummy. He has a little light blue tummy, and he is hot pink. Technically not hot pink, maybe more of a bubblegum pink, but I really liked making this color. I really liked working with color for all of these because finding a color palette for all of them was pretty hard to like come up with because I'm not really good at colors, but I think I really did a good job this time. He's kind of the last one that I made, and it's also really interesting because he's kind of a culmination of a bunch of leftover pieces. These strawberries that are on his butt are actually leftovers from Gluttony, and then this little hat that he has was actually not made for him, but it was made for a different character that I ended up scrapping. So yeah, but his donut is also removable, which is pretty interesting to anyone I show that to, and it has a dangling little sparkle to it. So you kind of just, it has two little grooves, if you can see, on both sides, just so that his hands fit in there, and you kind of just slide it in between his hands and then he'll hold it. So yeah, pretty simple, pretty easy, and this is what he looks like. And I don't know what else to say about him necessarily. There is tinfoil in here. I believe there's actually tinfoil in the whole thing. So I made like a jelly bean shaped tinfoil ball, and then I covered it in clay. I didn't put wires in his arms just because they aren't supporting much, so I didn't think it was really necessary. And yeah, this is how Lust turned out. I don't have too much to say about Lust other than that I had a really hard time coming up with him, but I actually really like the way he turned out. So yeah, I appreciate how like funny he looks. So speaking of Gluttony, this is actually the centerpiece of the entire project, and this is why I decided to make a birthday party theme. So this was definitely the hardest one to make and the one I spent the most time on, and also the one who has strawberries that he like very generously donated to Lust. So it's hard to show holding in my hand because these are all meant to be more of table pieces, but this is Gluttony. Gluttony is a giant little cake character that I made. I started off knowing that I wanted to make him the biggest one out of all of them, and basically just a blob of a bunch of food and stuff. And I realized it'd be funny if he was eating a bunch of things. And the main inspiration for this was No Face from Spirited Away. If you guys have watched that movie, it's a really good movie. And I remembered in the bathhouse scene where he ate basically everything and everyone, and I thought it was really funny how he looked. And so I kind of based the character off of him, more inspiration-wise than actual looks-wise, but this is what he looks like. And he has a bunch of candles in his back, and these candles were all made separately. If you want to see the clip of me attaching all of this stuff together, it's actually on my Instagram and you can go find it there. He's a giant blob, and there's little sprinkles everywhere, like strawberry jam or jelly or whatever you want to call it, I'm not sure. He's holding a cosmic brownie. I love cosmic brownies. And he has strawberries all over him because he's meant to be a giant cake. And he also has a cupcake and a sandwich and a piece of bread with an egg on it. But yeah, the decoration for this part was really fun. As you can see, there's a lot of different textures and stuff that you can see on the back, and so it was really fun painting him up. And as you can tell, he's kind of fallen apart, but that's actually intentional because he splits in half. I thought it'd be interesting to do a little character that splits in half and you can see the insides, and what better fitting is Gluttony. So Gluttony, as you can see, only basically has a stomach cavity, sadly, but it's filled with this delicious looking marshmallow fluff that has a lot of different colored sprinkles and star confetti. So I wanted to do something with the inside just because he is a cake, so you know, cakes naturally get cut apart, and I thought it would be interesting to have a little stomach showing through. So this was really fun for me to do. I've never really done anything like this, but this was definitely very, very exciting for me to do. So he's definitely my favorite one out of all of them, and I put so much detail into him that I could just stare at him all day, honestly. These are some of the pieces that I really love, and I very rarely make something that I actually love this much, so I'm really glad that he's here now and hanging out. So this is Gluttony, and also his party hat is also cut in half. I don't know if that was obvious, but yeah. So like I said, I was running out of time, and so one of the ones that I really slacked on but I still love is Sloth. Sloth is just, you know, vibing, hanging out, doing his own thing. He's kind of a party goer, doesn't really have a role in the party, but you know, he's that one guy who's there in the back. You don't really know why he's there. And he also has one of the donated hats from that scrapped character. This is why it's blue, and this was the hat made for him. And I actually love how the colors came out. I was really rushing when I was painting him and making the colors and basically finishing him up. I didn't think I was going to end up liking him, but the more I looked at him, the more I found him charming, so I really like him. He has scalloped edges on his fins, and he's kind of based off of a starfish and a mantis, I think is what they're called, a stingray, like all at the same time. And so I really like his shape. It took me a lot of conceptualization. I kept trying to think of a sloth character and I just couldn't. I kept thinking about tables and I kept thinking about axolotls, and I couldn't get away from one that looked like an axolotl. So this one I kind of winged it. This one and Lust were definitely the two that I just like winged it, because I was like, you know what, I can't think of anything. And they also have donated parts, which is really interesting. And so yeah, but he just has these pink and, well, kind of pinkish purplish and light blue stripes, and as you can see there's some little sprinkles on him, and that was kind of my go-to design for most of these, is just to put sprinkles on them. So that's how Sloth ended up. There's not much to say about Sloth, but also it's Sloth, so I figure it's the most excusable one for me to spend some less time on. And the last character I'm going to show you, which was actually the most difficult character to make, is Envy. So this is Envy. I actually ended up loving it a lot more than I thought I would. Originally, Envy was going to be some two-faced monster, and it didn't really end up going like that, so then I made it a two-headed monster. But originally, this bottom part of the popcorn holder was flipped upside down. These scallops were on this edge. He had legs and two different sets of two different heads. So I actually ended up landing on the 6th pair of heads for these guys, because I was having such a hard time deciding whether or not I wanted to actually use a candy and an unwrapped candy. I went through a lot of trials and tribulations just trying to get the wrapped and unwrapped look, and I'm not even really sure if it goes through at this point, but it's okay because it's not as important to me as it was before. Originally, I wanted to do a candy where there's a wrapper and you could tell, and I was starting with translucent clay. Didn't really work with translucent clay, so then I started using resin. Resin didn't really work either. I had a bunch of trial runs, and I have a bunch of tiny little pieces of things covered with like tin foil and stuff, and it was all really weird. And then I finally landed on, you know what, just not really caring a lot, but doing this same scalloped kind of present box looking edge on the edge of his head, I think really brought it together, so I think that really worked out well. But there was a moment where one of them was a candy, one of them was a popcorn, and there were other moments where their heads were also a candy and an unwrapped candy, but with the wrappers looking really weird and making them look like peas in a pod. And I also had a hard time deciding what color I want to do for them, and this is actually one of the last ones I painted because I was so nervous about the color palette and I didn't know what I was going to do, and I didn't want to do pink and green because I always have bad memories of pink and green from my childhood, of just being really tacky and watermelony, and that's not what I was going for. But surprisingly, I think with the addition of the blue, it really makes me like it more. And so going into how I made this guy, I didn't have long enough wires to run through their entire long necks, so I actually inserted tiny little wires all the way through, overlapping themselves, which was really hard. Their heads are obviously have tinfoil inside because they're so big, and this bottom part also has tinfoil inside, which is pretty similar to how I made Greed, because their head shapes or like the body and the head shape are kind of similar, where they're like a trapezoid looking thing. But that's pretty much what I did there. Originally they were going to be having the blue hats that I've been showing in all the other characters, where they have these little mysterious blue hats that don't seem to really match anywhere, but they seem to match with the characters, because all the other hats are special made for each character. But these hats were scraps, and I figured, why not just add them to things? Originally, the popcorn guy, when I was in the popcorn and candy stage, the popcorn guy was going to have 2 hats, and the candy guy was going to have 1 long hat. So I still actually have the 1 long hat, and I don't know what to do with it, but I made them new hats. Another thing I was thinking about was what flavor I wanted the candy to be, because I knew I wanted to paint it on the candy wrapper. So as you can see, these are apple slices, just because I love painting apple slices. And so I actually put an apple on top of his party hat, and he's the only character with something on top of his party hat that isn't just streamers. But they have 2 different party hats, as you can see. I wanted to make this one red so that ties in more with the red color. I made popcorn as well, and these are all glued in after, and I didn't even bother painting them, mostly because I didn't have time, but I'm kind of glad I didn't. And so there are stripes on him, and they land on some of the arms, and I thought that was really interesting. I also added blue sprinkles around the little popcorn box in hopes of tying it together with the hats. But the scalloped edge was definitely one of the most difficult parts that I had to do, and so that was really stressful for me to make. But overall, I love how it turned out, and I love that I didn't give it legs, because I didn't realize, but a lot of the characters I have do have legs. So it's actually really nice to have a break, and also definitely way more easier to balance without having any legs. But that's pretty much this character. This character is definitely the one I struggled the most with, but I really appreciate actually having a challenge. This was nice. I really needed this. It definitely made me practice a lot of my design skills I didn't realize I had, and making things 3D translating from 2D was definitely more difficult than I anticipated. But just a little backstory for some confusion, because I know there's some confusion around this character. This guy's, it's kind of like a two-faced thing. This guy's looking at something and is like, wow, OMG, I love it. And this guy's secretly like, oh, I hate it. And he's unwrapped candy, so it's kind of like a mask, you know? The wrapper's a mask, and having this was really nice to make, and I'm really glad I didn't give him legs. Overall, that's it. So that was all of my finished products, and I really hope you guys enjoyed them. It was definitely not easy making all of them, but I definitely really had fun for once making these projects, and so this was really nice for me to do, and I really liked it. And so I hope you guys were interested and had a fun time seeing kind of the process of how to make things. I was originally gonna vlog making them, but it just got way too stressful and hectic that I figured maybe I'd just do that another time when I make something new. But I hope you guys like this video and everything in it. Like I said, if you want to see more, there's a bunch of stuff in my Instagram, so you guys should go check that out. Other than that, hope you guys have been doing great. Hope quarantine's been okay. And if you get bored, make something, I guess. I'm really glad that finals are over so I can make more videos now. And I've been trying to get certain videos done that just aren't being filmed, and it's really annoying. So hopefully I'm able to do that very, very soon. But thank you all so much for hanging out with me and for watching my videos, and I will see you guys when I see you guys. So stay hydrated, take a nap, and I will see you when I see you. Bye!